I think being a traditional chef means you have to celebrate the authenticity of your traditional gastronomy. We need to have more people that fight to bring out the beauty of our cuisine as a Zimbabwean. My name is Gracia Pute and I am a self-trained chef, and I specialize in traditional cooking methods, in celebrating authentic Zimbabwean cuisine and using elements of our culture and heritage to showcase the beauty of Zimbabwean cuisine. I believe that with traditional cooking, if you grew up in Zimbabwe, you have a grandparent that probably grew up in the village. I myself have my grandmother that I would see her creating these beautiful, tasty meals from two elements. She would have her charcoal heaters, her fire, fresh fire, live fire, and she would have her clay pots. And from those two things, she would create beautiful menus that were infused in charcoal with wonderful flavors. And I think that I have mastered that sometimes it's the simple things put together that create the most beautiful memories, and we tap into our heritage and into our culture because of that. So I would give it to my grandmother on that part. I think I spent the entirety of today focusing on the social impact that we're having in the rural villages, the local impact, having these women come together, creating an initiative for clay pot making. And I think it becomes something so beautiful because we have managed to impact these families, giving them a way to provide for their families, and making sure that everything that they do is sustainable. I mean, you're looking at clay. You don't have any wastage that you can really talk about. This clay, if it's not used, it goes back into the earth. So we're talking about things that require very little working capital, but you can create beautiful things that you then sell, and to create a heritage and a cultural identity. So I believe that as Pavute, we are really having a big social impact when it comes to making sure we support our local communities, and we try to do more by giving back to these communities. And I think, empowering the girl child, empowering the women. I think there has been a very big gap between our grandparents, between the older generation, and us as the younger generation. I think this gap has grown bigger because of westernization. I think a lot of us, especially university students, a lot of people have gone out of Zimbabwe to study. And because of that, culture can be lost in between. And even culture can be lost within translation. So I believe that when we bring together elements from the past, elements that are happening now, and elements that could be happening in the future, and create something beautiful and memorable, like our traditional serving stations for our buffet menus. I believe that that alone taps into people's creativity. It taps into the nostalgia of people that miss home, and together as people we come together and we have a bigger connection because of our culture. I think a lot of people have become very alert when it comes to their health and dietary needs, and some of it means researching to the cuisine that we used to have, our traditional foods that are not so difficult to source. They are within our environment. They are also healthy, not too much additives, no too much artificial sugars. We are talking about your traditional fruits that can be seasonal, and we are also talking about certain things like your organic vegetables. I think making sure that we incorporate all those into different diets and finding innovative ways to still present the same foods, but in a very defined way, and obviously making it look as appetizing as possible. I think that's another thing we had to tap into. I think, as I mentioned earlier, going back to the ways that our ancestors used to cook and prepare foods. We look at things like certain types of vegetables. Some of them are only seasonally available in different seasons. We're talking of fresh neve as an example. So in our olden unique ways of cooking, we used to dry our vegetables so that we can have them in every season throughout the year. So I think we still practice those things. We're talking about one dish that a lot of people actually love and cherish in this country, which is creamed spinach. You can still have creamed spinach, but dried creamed spinach. So we have found ways to make sure that all these things can be within season. We're talking about pumpkin leaves, moringa, The dried pumpkin leaves taste very delicious. So we have a lot of ingredients that we can dry and carry over to the next season. Even if it's meat, if you don't have any access to cold storages, fridges, you can dry your meat. You've got your biltong goat meat that you put peanut butter into it and create a delicious stew. And I think just to end it all, I believe that all small businesses, chefs out there, when you have mastered a skill when it comes to cooking, focus more on how you can have a social impact, how you can be sustainable within your business, and how you can continue to uplift others, and make sure that something about you always represents your core values. If that is that you're part of your culture and you want it to be celebrated across the globe, do that and stand proud with it. I will always continue to advocate and celebrate authentic Zimbabwean flavors. And as I represent Pabutegobe, I would want every other person that does catering, food service, beverage services to sit down and also see how best are they participating in looking at the UN 17 SDGs as well. How well are they impacting their culture? How well are they creating value for the environment as well? We want to reduce pollution, emission. We also want to create jobs and employment. So I think we should always continue to celebrate our culture. This is from me, Gracia. Thank you.